Microphone okay?
Probably.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good thing. Well, first thing is, my name is Bill. I've been dowsing for a long time. I don't practice as much as I used to, and most people probably heard that dowsing is water. Dowsing for water is the big thing. I'm not a water dowser. That's Sue. She's dowsed for a couple wells, and they were successful. The town park in Vertikill, she found the well for that, and then some other people that she dowsed their well for. I can't be sure if the well driller, what's his name, the well driller, Alfala, if he actually dowses, or he probably dowses but doesn't tell anybody, because it's one of those things where as long as he gets water, it doesn't matter on what it is. There is a problem on some areas now in getting water, and as we go further and further into this earth change thing, we're going to find less and less water for these people to drill wells. And I know in Goshen, I think the well has to be 600 feet. So if he finds water at 300, he has to drill 300 feet more for the, but that's the law. That's the law down in Goshen. So it is kind of incredible. And to get I live on a Morrow Road. To get a well drilled on a mountain is really expensive because of the rocks.
Oh, yeah.
So it's an issue with water drilling. Got a couple things here. First thing that says the class outline, it says what exactly is dowsing, and then the B is what uses dowsing has in today's environment, and then explain and demonstrate different devices, getting ready to dowse, and group practice in dowsing. This is only an hour, so we'll try and kind of squeeze it in here and make sure that everybody gets a chance. These are books from the quarterly digest from the American Society of Dowsing. They have a convention every year. Let's see. One of the articles says a dowsing challenge to lessen climate control change effects. Water for Humanity, which is a program that the dowsing community uses. They go around the world and provide wells for in Africa or in India, any place where they don't have the water, and they have people come in and dowse for the well and actually help them either drill it or to dig it. How many people have a dug well at their house? Okay.
Oh, wow. I think my well is dug. What do you think? Probably.
If it's an older farmhouse, they dug the wells, which means that they're fairly shallow, and that's the ones like you see in the movies where they got the big round hole and they put the rocks in. Most of the time, it's drilled. Now, wells can be either pounded or drilled. In other words, they have one that drills down, or they have they come in and it's pounding. They take something and they pound it to crush everything, and they make a hole in the ground, and it's like putting a straw in the ground. Has anybody here dowsed it? And dowsing means using your pendulum. So if you use your pendulum, you are a dowser. Oh, you have a pendulum?
I have, crystal I use.
Okay. Do you dowse for spiritual matters or health and?
Both.
Okay, yeah, because that's one of the things that people, the uses for dowsing, if we look at the thing that says, has what uses says dowsing, it says water, map, informational, health, and environmental. I'm all of those except water. I don't go out looking for wells because I'm very nervous about having someone come in and spend $10,000 to drill a hole in the ground for water that you can't see. But I can dowse for water. I can move water. We had a bad problem with sulfur in our water up on the mountain, and what I was able to do is find the vein that had the sulfur in it and actually move that out of the well, so that it was able to, I still maintained the flow of water, so it was still good. But dowsers can also move water. In other words, if your well goes dry, has anybody had a well go dry and have to have it fixed? Because what they do is they fracture it, they put CO2 down there, and it breaks up the rock so that the water will run back in. A dowser can also move water. We have some dowsers in the community. If you need water, if your well is going dry, what they do is they find another vein and they redirect the vein over to the well. So it's not magical, it's not mystical, but it's things that people can do.
I have my own in it. Oh, okay.
Now, map dowsing. If you are looking for something and you want to find gold, or you want to find oil, or you want to find where your well is, or any of these things, what you can do is you can take a map and remote dowse. In other words, put the map on the table and then ask the question with your pendulum over the map, and you can find out what you need. We were introduced to a person at one of the conventions who dowsed for oil, and he made 6 figures just constantly because he would go out, he could find where the oil was, find out at what depth the oil was, and what the quality of the oil was. In other words, the oil has different qualities, and he could dowse, and he was right so often. He made lots and lots of money. And there are people who dowse for gold. There's a problem with dowsing for treasure, because when people bury treasure, they put what we call a thought form. They say no one is ever going to find this, and boy, it's really hard to get rid of a thought form. So that's why it's hard to find treasure. And if you're still looking for treasure, I think it's Captain Kidd's treasure. If you go down in Rockland County, around Haverstraw, there are people who searched and searched, and they're still searching for it. So that's apparently where he dropped off his treasure, they think. So you can do a lot of things with dowsing. Health and wellness, that's one of the things that we both use the dowsing for. You can dowse. I have some charts where you can dowse for different conditions. And if you know health kinesiology, anybody heard of health kinesiology? That's muscle testing to find things. And what they do is she'll ask you a question and push your arm down. And when she feels a resistance, that generally means that's an answer she wants. And when I say she, it's because the one doctor was just so incredible on what she would do. She someone was allergic to peppermint, so she put a peppermint tea bag on the lady's belly and then went to test, and yeah, she was allergic to it. But they can also do, it's called non-invasive testing. They can say what you need, what vitamins you need, how much vitamins. I have charts. We'll try and do some of that. But it's a big field. It really is, this health kinesiology. It's not accepted in a lot of places, but and it's, again, magical, mystical type thing that people don't always believe in. And one problem with dowsing is you have to believe in dowsing. And dowsing could be something simple. You take your 2 rods. These are L rods, and you say, give me a yes answer, and give me a no answer. So that's how simple it is. But you have to believe in it. If you don't believe in it, it's like your pendulum. Pendulum is really, it can be very, very pretty. It can be very expensive. Mine's here somewhere. This is a South African trading bead, and it's made in a pendulum. One of our master dowsers made a whole bunch of them, and but they were very expensive. And if you use your pendulum, this is normally yes, and that's normally no for me. Some people, it goes to different things, and it can change. So what you do is you program yourself to use the instruments that you want. I have a specific thing. I get up in the morning, and when I take a shower, my shower is like a ritual. But in my mind, it washes away all the things places that I ventured to, all the things that I picked up, anything that I brought home on my travels in the nighttime, and I start off fresh every day. But it's part of the programming. And I have a couple leaflets here as a letter to Robin. What he tells you to do is how to program your pendulum to work for you, and how to program. Normally, when you want to go out to dowse for a well, you want to know how much water you're going to get. You want to know how deep it is. You want to know whether the water is potable or not. And if it's not, what do I need to do in order to fix it? So it's not just a simple thing of walking out and this crosses when you get to the edge of the thing. Now, everything has an energy. So if I don't want to mess up his moving here. Okay, so if I'm looking for the edge of the table, that's where the edge of the table is. And to me, it's very, very simple. But if you try to scientifically make sure that everything is, everything that you see and everything that you believe is real, sometimes it's hard to do the dowsing. It's hard to understand how this is the energy is translated from my hands or from wherever it comes from here. And it's called subtle energies. Subtle energies are things that everybody knows we are made of atoms, but everybody has a certain energy frequency. Everything has a certain energy frequency. So sometimes we can adapt to an energy field that is noxious. Now, how many people have heard of noxious rays or geopathic zones? You know, sometimes if you look, if you walk out and you see some trees, sometimes the trees are bent and crooked. They're getting away from the energy that's around. We have two trees outside our house, and we've watched them over the years grow. It came up and it curled and then went up. The other tree down below it came up and curled the opposite way, but they were right in line with each other. So it was like something was funneling up through there. So there's energies all over. And if you go over to across the river, up in Hyde Park, what was it, the Roosevelt thing? If you walk down through you see his trees, the trees are all bent and twisted. And it's because the energy up there was just so strong that it made the trees bend and twist to get out of the way. How many people have cats? Cats are one of the things that they like energy that's not always compatible with other things. They'll sit on top of a TV set because they like the energy, and it's not just the warmth. And sometimes they'll pick a spot that you know, even if you move a piece of furniture there, they'll scratch around it to get to that spot that they like. And dogs are the same way, but dogs are not as goofy as cats. I'm not a big cat. They're not as goofy as cats on how things go. But it's like if you sit in your house and you sit in a chair and it just doesn't feel right. And then so you go and you find another place to sit, and you always sit in that same place. And it's not just a habit, it's how you feel about the energy that's going on. And the way to dowse it is just take your rods and to go over, or your pendulum, and ask, is this compatible with me? And it's like drinking water. How many people drink the water from their house? Okay, not many people do anymore. They go out and they buy the bottled water. You can take a bottle and compare them and see which one is compatible with you. Because just because it's not compatible with me doesn't mean that it's compatible with you. So it's all subtle energies, and it's just things that you have to look at and believe in. And if you go to the store, how many people, when you go to the store, you look at the meat in the counter, you don't just pick up one and throw it in your cart. What you do is you pick it up, you feel it, and so you're actually dowsing. You're asking that piece of meat and applying your intuition to what the response is. Though some people just throw it in a cart, but most of the time we use our intuition, and dowsing is applied intuition. And it's not necessarily the same for everybody. That's what I'm trying to get at. You know, dowsing for whatever you want. Now, what would you want to dowse for, do you think? I know you said health and wellness. Do you dowse every day for yourself?
I do not, but I've dowsed previously for answers to questions.
Okay. Do you dowse for other people?
I have.
Okay. See, that's the other thing. It doesn't have to be only for you. It's like, I can use this, and then ask a yes question or a no question. Don't tell me what it is, just ask. You got to think. So whatever the question she asked is yes.
I said, are we having fun? I said, yes.
And the thing is, when you're dowsing, if you're using map dowsing, you can dowse for something that's in the future, in the past, of this dimension, of this world, anywhere. There's no limits to the dowsing. It's just how much you believe in. I've dowsed for people's houses, and I did one. We're there, and I kept finding all kinds of crazy answers, but it took a long time to get the answers. And it turned out the house had a thatched roof. It was and that was that lady from, her house was in South Africa, and I was in Kingston. And I could just see the whole place. But it took a long time for the answers to come. So I asked her where it was, and she said, South Africa. So it can be used for anything. It's just how much you believe. You have a question? Yes.
But you have to have a definite thought in your head before you can actually get an answer.
The question is the most important part. Okay, let's just say, is it going to rain today? Yes. But where? See, that's the thing. So it's going to rain somewhere. Now, is it going to rain on this building today? It says maybe.
Maybe.
That maybe because it's one of the things that we, what do you? Oh, tonight. Yeah, is it going to rain on this building tonight? Yeah, that's a better answer. Now, is it going to be before 6 o'clock? After 6 o'clock? Is it going to be after 7 o'clock? I'm having trouble. Let's see, after 8 o'clock? I'm having trouble with this building, and I'm not sure what the.
Could the internet be?
What's that?
affecting it? Could the internet be affecting it?
I have my watch on, which I don't normally wear, and have my phone in my pocket. So yes, your watch, your phone can mess up your connection to the universe. But the question is the most important part. It's like if you're looking for a well, you look for a well. Is there any water in is there? You would start off the end of the field, get pointed towards the where you're going. Is that working or no?
Yes,
Okay.
this is working. That was the dehumidifier that just filled up and stopped.
Oh, okay.
I have a question though, I have a question.
I'm sorry.
So if Sue touched your arm while you did that, would that strengthen your connection?
Yeah. When I was first learning how to dowse, I had a lot of trouble because I couldn't seem to get it. I was just stubborn about it. And my mentor, he came up, and all he did is he put his hand on my shoulder. And after that, as soon as I started to get some answers, then he took his hand off, and the connection was built. And then I realized that's what it is. And it's just a connection between you and whatever the dowsing, where the information comes from. It's almost like a religion. You have to have faith, and sometimes we get the answers we don't like, but you have to accept the answers. It doesn't like to be tested, and you can't always do the future. That's the other issue, because the future is not locked in stone. If you say, am I going to win the lottery? Yes, but suppose I never buy a ticket. It doesn't matter there. So you have to realize the question that you ask is the time that you're asking. Let's see, is my blood pressure high? It says yes. Now, that's for me. Now, can I make my blood pressure lower? Now, if you measure my blood pressure, it's lower. I learned how to do the stop the circulation in your arm, how to stop breathing, how to do all these things. But I learned those very young when I did other things. But you can actually lower your own blood pressure. Sometimes if you go to the doctors, it's that white coat syndrome. Your blood pressure is always going to be high because of the nervousness. But you can actually lower it if you sit there and relax and meditate and make sure that you're okay with that. Now, did anybody have a well drilled around you lately? No? Because sometimes when a well gets drilled on a piece of property that's next door, it changes the texture of your water, changes the scent or smell. Does anybody live near a cell tower? No? Okay. Wow, that's a good thing, because cell towers give off a lot of energy, and energy flows through the quartz. It'll flow through water. It'll flow through the ground. So that if there's a cell tower that's on top of the mountain and there's a stream coming down the mountain and it goes past your house, that energy can be affecting your house. And that's the geopathic zones. All of these topics and stuff, if you looked up on the internet, there's so much information out there. In Germany, they care a lot about geopathic zones, so they won't put a house where the energy is not good for people.
Ed,
Someone coming in? Anybody have any questions on dowsing in general? Just dowsing is just, like I say, applying your thoughts and your energy through a series of instruments. One of the things is a pendulum, and it's really cheap. You can put a nut on a piece of string. You can put You can get it one really fancy crystal. You can get it like this. That's bronze and a thing. So it doesn't matter what it's made of or what it is. It's how you use it. And the more often you use it, the better it will get. The better your results will be.
Do you have to put that over whatever it is?
No. You can ask. I have a chart in there somewhere. Let's see.
Where is it?
It's in the.
It's in the box?
No, it's in the.
No, it wasn't. there.
Wasn't in there? Oh.
Yes, Pendulum.
Well, that's it's one of the things is finding lost objects, and we had people who specialized in finding people who were abducted. Oh, okay. And if you have let me just get it. These are weird charts, so we'll try charts later. This is it has a whole listing of all the body parts, and so first thing I would ask, do I have any issues of any of the spots on the chart? Not a big one. Okay, so I will put over there, where is any of these that I have to be able to take care of? It says bladder, but I went before I left the house. But that's all you would have to do on a chart, and there's some charts that are really difficult. And
Your own chart? Like
you make your own chart, whatever you want. I went through one of the websites on charts, and this is a chart that would tell me, am I allergic to any food? And no. Now I can ask, if she lets me, is Sue allergic to any foods? No. Is there anybody here that's allergic to a food? It has casein, eggs, fructose, gluten, high carb, some other stuff.
Shellfish.
What, shellfish? Okay, is it on there? No, it's not on there. Let's see if I can ask.
Would it tell you what body parts are missing, like you've had your appendix out or your gallbladder? Would it tell you that?
Yes, and the interesting thing about that is sometimes that image of your appendix and stuff is still there. The energy is still there, but the body part is gone. People who lose limbs, they have what's called a phantom limb. You can dowse and find out where the leg is, where the arm. It's called subtle energy, and so yeah, you could find out if the person has a appendix out. Let me see if I have any. Am I missing any organs? Come on. And I know what it is. It's tonsils. And Sue can remember because I was 30 years old when I got him out. And one of the things was that when he put me in a wheel, took me out, and she took me home, she says, if I start to bleed, make sure she calls the hospital because I probably won't make it back to the hospital. So but again, they're gone. But let's see, my tonsils. Do I still have my tonsils? It says yes. Now, you know your tonsils can grow back if they leave a small portion of it in there. So, I have another chart. I'm just,
I have a question though. Can I go back to what you said before?
yes.
So this is going to, I mean, if there's a body part missing, it's going to tell you yes or no. This is, a concrete thing. But in terms of subjective matters, how much is influenced by a person's way of interpreting? Like, for instance, say a woman says, "Is my husband cheating on me?" Now, he doesn't think he's cheating. He thinks he's just talking to someone on the phone. They're flirting around. That's not cheating. She thinks it's cheating. So would it say yes or no? Would it go by the husband's interpretation or by her interpretation?
Would it go by the interpretation of the question, who poses the question?
Okay.
Because what I consider cheating may not be, like you say, may not be what you consider cheating. Now, if we get things back and forth, it's cutting a fine line. So you can't always, and the question is the most important part of the search. It's like if you're looking for a lost object, you have to say what that object actually is, because we don't know if you're looking for a key that you lost 6 months ago, or if the key that that you just lost. So you kind of have to be specific, and the more you practice, the more you will interpret what you need, and more you will be able to help people with things. Yeah.
Okay, just to go one step further. What you were saying, that I lost my house keys. There's someplace in my house. I can use those objects or the pendulum, and it will say, yes, I lost it. It will not tell me where the house keys are. So why am I asking it if I know I already lost it?
Well,
And I'm not trying to be
no.
funny,
This
I'm
is
not.
if you okay.
Is it in the kitchen? Is it in the bathroom?
Right. Is it
You have to ask
or
the right thing.
right
Narrow it
now
down.
and narrow it down? But you can also say, "Take me to the keys," and
It will lead.
it will lead you. That's it's it will lead you around. It's like looking for water. You don't you don't just walk back and forth on the field. You ask the things, and they will lead you. And like I say, you just ask, is it in the kitchen? Sometimes it's hard because if it's under the refrigerator,
That's still in the kitchen.
it's still in the kitchen, but you're gonna have a hard time finding it. Now, let's say there's a person who's lost in the woods.
Right.
How do you find that person? What would you ask?
Maybe
Where
over a
is-
map.
Yeah, you could use a map, or if you were standing on the edge, you could ask, in what direction do I have to walk to find that child? And is the child, and the other question is the child lost? It's all all who wander are not necessarily lost. She may have run away. So you have to you can ask specifically, where is, we'll say Donna or whomever, where are they located? And it can try and find it that way. But you can use a map. We knew some dowsers who worked with the police departments in order to find people. One of the issues becomes you become a suspect. That's the other, fear that people have. If you become too smart, if you become more aware, it's harder and harder. I'm involved in a lot of stuff with the UFOs and stuff, and sometimes what we do is, they always worried, is the government going to come after me because I know something, and how much do I know that you don't know? It's a very, very, and like a tightrope thing, because your mind will make all of these things. And I don't see too many stories on TV about dowsers, but I see a lot of stories now about people who have high intuition. And I don't normally have to carry a set of dowsing rods in order to find out information. When we used to go up to visit her sister, I would take my finger and dowse and have my finger would wiggle for the answer that I wanted, so I would know what to expect when I get up there. But it's, again, it's called dowsing without instruments, deviceless dowsing. And like you say, if you're asking for someone else, you have to be specific, and also that person has to be open enough to allow that energy. It's like if you're hiding, you can hide from just about everything, but if a dowser who is a competent dowser could find the things, because there are some ways to get around the thought forms. And again, thought forms are just objects that are made in people's mind. Let's see, I'll put a wall right here. So let's see, and the wall's only going to be, I'll say, 2 inches thick. So you come up, okay, and then if I go through the wall, that's how fast. So there's a wall there. And the joke is that when we went to the conventions, some of the dowsers would put blocks and boxes on the stage. I put a thought form of a box on there, and people would fall over it because the dowsers were, they're the thing. So again, if you come up and we take away the wall,
So you took that wall out of your thoughts.
I made it.
Right, you made it and then you took it away.
Took it away. It's, again, you have to understand that it's not magical. It's just something that's been practiced at for a long time.
I would go nuts if I had it.
What's that?
Say when I'm playing pickleball and I'm at the net, I could put a thought form of a wall up that would help me deflect the balls.
Depends on how strong you are. Yes.
I like that.
Oh, that's cheating.
Everybody can do it.
Well, you just got to practice. It's like pitchers when they get up there and they're throwing the ball. They know where they want the ball to go, and all the distractions and the noises in the person that takes the aim out. Yeah, yes, focus, and that's the other thing with dowsing. You have to focus on what you're thinking of. My mind is here everywhere. I mean, it just goes all over the place. So I have a little trouble sometimes focusing because I can hear. And oh, that's another thing I forgot to tell you. If I look at you funny, and I'm not looking at you funny, it's because when I start to dowse, or things show up, things appear.
I'm sorry, I shirked my responsibilities. I was supposed to start this by saying that reading minds in New York State is not allowed. So
Oh.
he's not reading you your mind. He's
Yes,
just,
I'm not fortune telling.
he's not fortunate.
I just can see things and I can hear things, and
Can you see like auras or anything like that?
yes, everybody has an aura. Everybody has an energy field. Everybody has an energy field that's out and around them. And in order to measure the energy field, and hers is really big, so we'll have to. So her energy is all the way over here. But that's because she's open.
Minded.
So yeah, I can see aura fields and stuff. It's just, again, that's applying my intuition. Doesn't mean that I'm special. It means that I practiced, and it just takes practice. It's like counting and doing math. Some people have a lot of trouble with doing math and stuff. But when I grew up, math was just something that I saw, and I see it differently than most people. It's like colors. Let's see, who has a color that looks like it's different?
A color.
Color. Some people when they wear a color, the color changes. And who's to say what red is? You learned what red is because someone told you. Now suppose they were wrong. And some people don't see. How do you know what you see? How do you know that what I'm looking at is the same thing that you see? There's no way to know that. So what you do is you practice going into that person, looking out through their eyes, and you can be able to tell what's up with the world. Again, practice and intuition. Anybody have any questions?
So you said it's illegal to read minds, or is it just illegal to charge money?
I'm sorry?
How can it be illegal to read minds?
How can it be illegal to read minds?
You said it was illegal to read minds? How does that work?
Oh, and no, it's fortune telling. New York State has a law.
Charge money.
Right.
Okay.
Well, not. New York State has a law for telling fortunes, which is the future, because people get arrested all the time for milking people out of lots of money. I do psychic readings, and it's not. But I don't. I just do the readings. I don't follow up. I don't get money for it. I don't do. I work for the Crystal Center. So, but for people who are, there used to be one in Middletown, and a lady had a shop over in Middletown, and she had on a sign, fortune telling. She was always investigated, and she finally got closed down and had to move because New York State has a law against fortune telling.
What I should have said was psychic. If you go to psychic readings or psychic fairs or something like that, it's New York State says it's for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
correct phrase.
Yeah.
It's for entertainment purposes only.
But it's like if you're practicing with as a dowser, practicing healthcare or any of that stuff, because we are healthcare. What do you call it? That
Integrative health practitioner.
yeah, integrated health practitioners. Those are we don't prescribe, we don't diagnose, we don't do anything. But I can tell you what your choices are. When I do a reading, if I do a reading and if someone has a problem that I recognize, I tell them, you have a choice. You should go to the doctors, get your eyes checked, get your glasses updated, get your contact lenses updated. It's just because I can kind of sense there's something's amiss. And I said, I can do some kind of health readings, but I'm not a doctor. I don't know what it's whatever your body is telling me. And it's kind of interesting because I don't know how I learned it, but that's what and I'm pretty accurate on it. So, but I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but I know that sometimes people have problems. Yes. I heard you.
You heard me? Sorry. So like if you're going to be dowsing for health reasons, even though you might not be totally familiar with what might be bothering that particular person, but if you are an ethical practitioner, then you would have to do some homework. So if somebody came to you for health reasons and you used a chart or you used a picture of a anatomy picture. I took one class where she took out of a kid's coloring book, and she took the anatomy of the person, and she taught you how to dowse the body from using that simple picture. Now, if you do come up to a problem, say the person has a liver problem or something like that, but you don't know what questions that you need to ask to find out what's wrong, then you've got to go home and do some homework. Because if you can't ask the right questions, you're not going to get the answers that you need. And because I'm not trained I'm not a physician either, I would have to do some homework so I would know the proper questions to ask in order to help that particular person. So it's not just as simple as you having to know everything, it's just you have to know that you may have to learn something to ask the appropriate questions. But you can do that for yourself too. You can take that same body picture and you can ask the questions over. That's you what we call as you witness that picture. You put a little bit of your saliva, which is going to mark that piece of paper as you, and then you can ask your questions accordingly. You can dowse for yourself. Sometimes it's better to have somebody else do it for you because you're too close to your own personal issues, but you can dowse for yourself. But it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice.
Oh,
Question though, am I do automatic writing. Do you consider that dowsing?
it's applying your intuition.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Who does? See, the thing is, where do you get your automatic writing from?
Guides.
Yes. Yep. So what that means is that you're only a tool. All of these are, the only thing, these are tools. They're not magic tools, not anything. And automatic writing is a way of dowsing because do you ask the question or you just yeah, because sometimes automatic writers, they would sit down and what they'll do is they'll write. And sometimes they use if you're right-handed, they use your left hand. And what they do is they get the information and they write it down. It's a means of channeling, if you're familiar with channeling. I don't like the word channeling because channeling means that something takes over and that you do it. But automatic writing, I know a few people who do automatic writing, and sometimes they just sit down and they ask the question, what do I need to know? What's coming next? What should I be? Is there anything that I can help people with? There's a whole bunch of things, but when you get the question, then you start to write, and then you don't know what you're writing until it's done. And then once it's done, you look at it and say, oh, this is what either I got to do or I have to look up more. And I know people who did it on a typewriter. They would sit down and just type. And sometimes writing a book, people sit down and type. It's was it the Course in Miracles? They sat down and they wrote it because that book was channeled from God. So they wrote the book. They wrote the whole course on things so yeah, it's a means of dowsing. There's the viceless dowsing. There's so many different ways that you can apply your intuition to get the answers that you desire. And that's what that dowsing, answers that you're asking for, not necessarily the ones you desire, because you might not get the right answer. And sometimes if you ask a question and you go right back and ask the same question again, it'll be different because you're not letting the answer come through. You're kind of putting your bias on the answer. And that's one of the other issues. We had a person who was an exorcist, and he would do exorcisms long distance using dowsing rods. And he used to go to Burger King and get two of the stirrers and hook them together. And that's another dowsing tool, isn't a thing. You have that in your hand. Do you want to tell them what that is?
Well, what I've been doing, and if you've been watching me, what I'm doing is just, I'm trying, getting kind of an energy reading on what's going on in the room right now. But this is what's called a bobber. We had a dowser he was a large volume water dowser, but he was very good at a lot of different things. And he would go to his chiropractor when he was sitting in the chiropractor's office while he was waiting for his turn to come in. He'd be going around and checking out everybody that was sitting in the room. And what he would do is he would be able to run up your spine, and he would be able to read you have energy centers in your spine, in your body, your chakras. If you're familiar with that term, it's chakras, it's your energy. So he would run up their spine, and before they'd even get in to go see the doctor, they could tell the doctor what was going on. He was very good at it. But this is what's called a bobber. And because I use this in my health, I specialize in auras and body energy fields and the chakras. And I can do a reading on who would like to be a volunteer. Okay. If you know anything about health and your balance that you want your body to be in, it's called homeostasis. Your body always wants to be in a perfect balance. And one of the quick ways that you can check to find out if you're in balance is that your body each cell in your body has a plus and a minus, okay? And as long as your pluses and your minuses are all working the way they're supposed to, you're going to be in balance, right? So one of the best ways to check to see if, first of all, that you are in some kind of sync is I take a reading on the person, and you see which way the bobber is going, okay? And then I go to this side. You see which way the bobber is going? Okay. So now you've got what we're getting is an indication of this way on that side and this way on this side. So that gives me an idea that things might be doing pretty good. So I'm just going to verify it. And what is it doing now? It's going up and down. So that's a quick indication, and you can do it yourself if you have your pendulum with you. Yes, fine, thank you. If something is out of whack, now most likely if somebody was to do a reading on me right now, is I have rotator cuff issues in this shoulder. You're going to get a wrong answer on this shoulder. I'm not going to be balanced between both shoulders because I've got a physical problem here. But that's one way, then you can start to ask your questions and everything. But he used to be very good at running up the spine, and he could read everything that was going on in the body. But it took him a little while to learn how to do that.
Show the balance.
Huh? Oh, you're gonna. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just stand there. So it doesn't matter whether you do the front or the back, but you can do this over your knees. You can use your knees and take your pendulum, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm getting a good balanced reading on him right now.
Okay.
Okay, now, let me know when you're ready. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing now. Okay. So what do you think we just did there? Not getting anything. Okay, it's like dead.
Did you hold your breath?
No, it's just
he
I just moved myself out of here.
He did an adjustment. Okay.
And this is
And then you can tell a person can teach themselves how to get themselves in balance, and you'll know when you're out of balance. The phrase being beside yourself, you know the term of being beside yourself?
Yeah.
Well, you have a physical body, and then you have your energetic body. And when you tell somebody that you're beside yourself, it's because your energetic body is over here, and your physical body is here, which means you're all out of whack.
Yeah.
Okay? So, but using your pendulum with yourself,
you want to do some pendulum stuff?
if they, well, I don't know. But those of you who have a pendulum with you, if you want to read yourself, is what you're doing is you're taking your pendulum and you're just putting it over the knee and letting it rotate, okay? Okay, and then
You can put your hand, I'll do it over your hand if you
you
want.
can do it over your hand.
Yeah, just put your hand.
So you can take a reading on yourself very simply with your pendulum to find out whether you seem to be in balance. You can also simply ask your pendulum. Now, the first thing when you're working, I should do my crystals pick you. You don't pick crystals. This is the crystal that I use when I'm doing this. The first thing you do when you're going to start dowsing, you get up in the morning and you have a program. Bill has a program he does when he's in the shower. But the one thing that you want to do is you always want to ask your pendulum before you start dowsing, what's your yes answer? What's your yes response? Because it can change. Even if you've programmed it, it can change. Okay, so this is not usually my yes answer, but for right now, that's my yes answer. Okay, so all I have to do is just simply ask, are all of my chakras rotating properly? Okay, so it tells me, yes, everything is okay, so you don't have to worry about it. So, but if I got not a yes answer, okay, then what do you think you need to do to find out what's going on? There are 7 chakras, main chakras, running from the top of your head to the end of your tailbone. So you could just, once you learn what those chakras are, you can use numbers if you want, 1 through 7, whatever works for you. And you just say, you know, what chakra is not working? Root chakra, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, my first and my second chakra are not in balance right at the moment. But there's so much to learn about what 1 and 2 is, the root chakra and your solar plexus and your belly button chakra, what that means. And basically it's your connection to the earth, it's your ego, it's your materialistic, the way you live materialistically on this earth, a little bit of control issues. So those, and so now you have to say to yourself, well, what's going on in my life that's causing that to be a little upset? So again, then you can work through a series of questions. But just to show you what you can do with dowsing, is you can find out, think what's going on, and then ask questions to find out how to fix it.
And the one thing is you can't be afraid about it, because fear is a kind of like a mind killer. It doesn't allow it to happen. And just because it comes up and you get an answer that you don't, you know, that you're not well or something, you can always go to the doctors and get it checked out. Or you can ask another question. Is this serious? Should I get it checked out now? When I do a reading, that's essentially what I do. I do a dowsing of the whole body. I look at the shoulders, I look at the arms, and I notice that there is a pattern with the people that I say. I work every Sunday, and sometimes there's a whole group of people that seem to show up with thyroid problems. They know they have thyroid problems, and the doctor's checking them out, but they're not sure what the deal is and what causes thyroid problems. You know, that means you'd have to go on the web and look up and see what you can do to help your thyroid. And you know, if you can help it, then you can dowse for that. So you can take charge of, you know, who you are. And one of the things that is interesting is, let's see if I can do this. It's like you say, you know, my name is Sue. You know, it's not Sue. My name is William. My name is Bill. That's what I'm known as, is Bill. My name is Butch. It goes much faster. That's the name that I grew up with. That's what all of my family called me and everything. So it doesn't lie, but it may not tell the whole truth, because you may not understand why it took so long to get to, you know, to William, because that's why, but I don't use that name. And a lot of people that I do a reading for, and they tell me what their name is, I say, no, it's not, because that's not what their name is. They're called something else. And that's what your soul name is, or whatever, you know, the person you are, rather than the person that you think you are. So you can use dowsing for that. It's just a lot of fun. You can do a lot of different things with dowsing. One of the things on UFOs, Sue and I went out to Long Island and we did a class on dowsing for UFOs, and people were just dowsing and found all places on a map where they thought that the UFOs had landed, and a lot of them agreed. with each other and not knowing what was going on. So it's a very interesting thing to do. It opens up a lot of things to go on. I have I have dowsing, the American Dowser books that you can look at or you can take if you want. And let's see. The mystery mound sites, planetary ley lines, water dowsing and medical astrology, dowsers and astrologers. At the dowsing convention, there was a group of people there from the Vatican that were doing the study of astrology and how it was connected and how truthful it was. So there's a lot of different studies that go on all of this. I'm trying to find something that sounds most of it is the perfect solution for low volume wells, shamanism, 3 worlds, thousands of wells for villages in India. So there's a lot of different stories here if you want to come and peruse and do all those things after we get finished. It says breast cancer in Marion County. A lot of dowsers went and did studies for, we'll say, the university on what the odds are and doing things on how many people and stuff. And a lot of that stuff comes out to be pretty true and pretty accurate. So it's always a big thing on how well the dowser knows the subject and how well that dowser is able to ask the right questions. And the question is the most important thing. It's like I say, is it going to rain today? Are the Mets going to win? All those things. Are the Mets going to win the World Series? That's in the future. There's so many things that could change. So it's hard, but there are people who can dowse that information accurately. It's like finding gold. Finding gold is, you could go down to the park and find gold because people lose their rings, but you have to be able to get your mindset on, what you're looking for. And what is gold? 10 karat, 24 karat, could be just gold plating. So you kind of have to, be reasonable on what you ask. And picking the lottery numbers, that was another issue that everybody seems to have, but it doesn't work. It doesn't like testing and it doesn't like greed. Don't know why, but I'm sure that some people can get around that by, by dowsing with your pendulum, what numbers are going to come up. You have a better chance of, what's that, quick draw? Because you only have to pick a couple numbers?
No, but how about the fact that, does anybody have a stock portfolio? You know how people pick your stocks? We had a master dowser. He's no longer with us, but he made pendulums, and he'd make all kinds of pendulums. A lot of them would be like this with a very sharp point on the end of it, and he sold them to Wall Street stockbrokers, because what they did was they sat with their pendulums and they picked your stocks for you with the swing of a pendulum. And he was charging only like $50, $60 for them, and somebody got a hold of him and says, nah, $300, $400, $500, $600. And he sold his pendulums to Wall Street stockbrokers who picked your stocks by using a pendulum. And of course, if you have the finer point on the pendulum, when you're using the chart like this, if your pendulum has a nice point on it and it starts swinging to something, it'll give you a more accurate reading than if you use something with a board or end to it. So
yeah, that's if you have a chart like this.
you need something that's got a fine point on it. So if it's swinging, you really need to be able to get it.
And what he had is you would unscrew the bottom and turn it around and had a long needle on it. So it was that accurate on it. And he sold them for $600. And the people bought it, and that's what they wanted. So.
And it's like something else that you can use. One of the conventions we went to up in Vermont was a farmer, and he sits down several times during the year with his property all laid out in front of him, and he will dowse what crop is going to go into what field and when. And he rotates his crops, and he knows when to plant, he knows when to harvest, and he does it all via dowsing. He picks his seeds by dowsing. Everything he does on his farm is all done with his pendulum. And it's amazing to see him watch them work and then explain what it is that they're doing. And that's one of the best places to go if you want to really see the full gamut of what you can use dowsing for, is go to the conventions. They're just the plethora of information, and some of the stuff is really, and you get a little bit of the negative stuff too that might show up, but at least you learn that that's not what you want to do.
Yeah,
But it's a lot of fun.
when we first got involved in dowsing, the conventions were not anything to do with health or anything like that, because there was a strict laws in Vermont about it. So, but slowly they all had that disclaimer that they're not doctors and stuff. But it is amazing on what some people can do with things. We met so many different people with so many different theories on how things work and how they were very successful in the things that they do. Most of the dowsers are like myself. They're now they were very old then. They're really old, so that the young people are not availing themselves of any of that kind of stuff anymore. It's like almost a lost art. But it is entertaining. It is fun to do, and it gives you a more sense of better thing. And like she says, in the farmers, there are some, they make different things that they put in the ground to move the energy so that it doesn't go into the thing. It's like in England, if you notice that they have a lot of hedges all the way down, and then you'll see a break in the hedge. That's an energy line that goes through there that the hedge is not compatible with, and so it doesn't grow in that spot. And no matter how many times you dig it up and replace it, it's not going to change. There are a few places in the area where the road is always torn up, and they fix it. It's all nice and smooth, and it doesn't take long before it breaks up again. So a couple spots on 17, we laugh about it because the energy is so bad that it disrupts the road. There is a bridge across the Walk-Hill where the paint disappears. It falls off, and they keep painting it and painting it. They blame aliens as ships are flying across it and taking the paint off, but it doesn't stay painted for long. So, and they don't know what's causing it. And again, it's some kind of energy that's being picked up, and the paint doesn't work. Any questions or something I can? No?
It's kind of hard to dive into this in an hour's time. When we do a full-fledged class, we have, I know our hour's up already. Our full-fledged classes, we've already laid out. We know there's a water line out. So we do work at the Mount St. Mary's College at Desmond campus, which is a lovely place to be. And they had a perfect spot right out the doors. And there's a water vein that goes through there. And we would take everybody out, and then we'd show you how to use the L rods. It makes it really nice when you can do that. And then you come back in and we do pendulum dowsing and whatnot. We work with the charts and everything, but you need more time to do that.
I'll leave a copy of the letters to Robin, and there's a second part, which is a thing. I'll leave copies here so that if anybody wants to come in and take a look at them and see what the deal is.
Take any of the catalogs there,
right, the American Dowsers. If there's, just look and see if there's any kind of stories that you might be interested in. There's all types of things. There's a lot of it is water. A lot of it is spiritual, because a lot of people do spiritual dowsing. You want to find out who your guide is, what your guide's name is, and sometimes you can use a chart, and they have the archangels all written around, and you can pick one that that you think that is going to help you at the time that you need it. So there's a lot of different things that you can use dowsing for. It's not magical or mystical. It's just another tool to help you in your life. And you can heal yourself. That's the other thing that we really have to know, is you can heal yourself. There's things that you might need help with, but not necessarily drugs or anything like that. Sometimes you can use just the food, and sometimes the food that you're getting is not good. So it's tough. You go into the store now and everything is labeled in plastic, and how do you know what's in there? You learn how to feel through the plastic. It's like when you go to buy vitamins, which vitamins that you take. Your body will tell you which vitamins are good. And sometimes when I do a reading, I know that people change their brand of vitamins because their body is not happy. The other thing is pets. You can dowse for your pet. Ask him if the food that he's getting is okay. If you change brands of food, if you don't feed him at the right time, you can ask with a pendulum what's the best time of day to feed you, and you'll get the answer through your pendulum from him or her. It's just a matter of practicing.
Is there a book or anything you recommend on getting started with?
The thing, this is a short course and thing. It's online. It's called a letter to Robin.
A letter to Rob.
Yeah, letter to Robin.
And then there's another.
This is old standby type thing, and it does cover pendulums, it does cover L rods, and it gives you everything that you need to know for the basics. It's been around for ages, but it never changes. It's always the same.
But the Google is your best friend.
Yep.
It's just you can go on, and if you want to get a chart, or if you have any questions, sometimes you can just do Google and go. I have one of the things that I have here. Let's see if I got it. Oh, here it is. It says that when one acquires a bit of new information, there are many new questions that are generated by it, and each new piece of information breeds 5 or 10 new questions. These questions pile up at a much faster rate than does the accumulated information. No information contains a final truth. It only stimulates more thinking and more thirst for learning. And that's Isaac Bentoff, and it comes from Stalking the Wild Pendulum. The more you ask, the more information you're going to get. It's like sitting at your computer and looking up one thing. All of a sudden, you're going another page, another page, another page to get the information that you want, because the information is all out there. But the truth is right here. That's the other thing that you have to do. The truth is in your heart. And that's what the dowsing is all about. You have to dowse with heart. And that makes a big difference. Okay, any questions? No? Yes? No? Well, thank you all for coming. And I'll leave, you can, if you want to come up and take a look and see which one of these, you might want to, 1 or 2 of those. And there's some charts if you want to look at those.